In the deepest reaches of space, where even the most powerful telescopes strain to penetrate the cosmic veil, something extraordinary waits in the darkness. Beyond the observable universe, past the cosmic microwave background radiation that marks the furthest edge of what we can see, lies a realm that challenges everything we think we know about reality itself. Tonight, we venture into the unseen realms beyond the edge of space, where science fiction becomes indistinguishable from cosmic truth. The universe we observe spans roughly 93 billion light years across, a staggering distance that contains everything from the smallest quantum particles to the largest galactic superclusters. Yet this observable cosmos represents merely a fraction of what might exist beyond our perception. Like ancient mariners who once believed the ocean ended at the horizon, we stand at the edge of an infinitely vaster reality, peering into an abyss that may contain realms beyond our wildest imagination. Consider this unsettling possibility. What if our entire universe, with its billions of galaxies and countless stars, is nothing more than a single bubble floating in an endless cosmic ocean? Theoretical physicists have proposed that beyond our cosmic horizon lies the multiverse, an infinite expanse containing countless other universes, each with their own laws of physics, their own versions of reality, their own impossible geometries. In some of these parallel realms, the very concept of space and time might be fundamentally different from our own. The cosmic microwave background radiation, that faint afterglow of the Big Bang that permeates our universe, acts like a curtain drawn across the cosmic stage. Behind this veil, temperatures and energies existed that were so extreme they warped the very fabric of space-time itself. Scientists have detected subtle anomalies in this background radiation, mysterious patterns and cold spots that shouldn't exist according to our current understanding of cosmology. These anomalies might be echoes from beyond, fingerprints left by neighboring universes that briefly touched our own during the chaotic moments of cosmic inflation. But the mystery deepens when we consider the possibility of higher dimensional spaces. While we experience reality in 3 spatial dimensions plus time, string theory suggests that up to 11 dimensions might exist, most of them curled up so tightly that we cannot perceive them directly. In these hidden dimensions, entirely different forms of matter and energy might exist, civilizations that evolved along paths we cannot even conceive. They would be literally all around us, separated not by distance, but by dimensional barriers we cannot cross. Recent discoveries in quantum mechanics have revealed that empty space itself is anything but empty. The quantum vacuum seethes with virtual particles that pop into existence and disappear in timeframes so brief they challenge our understanding of causality. Some researchers speculate that these quantum fluctuations might be windows into parallel realities, brief moments when the barriers between worlds become thin enough for information to leak through. The implications are staggering. What we perceive as the void of space might actually be teeming with hidden activity from realms beyond our detection. Dark energy, that mysterious force driving the accelerated expansion of our universe, comprises roughly 68% of all existence. It remains completely invisible to our instruments. This cosmic phantom pushes galaxies apart at ever-increasing speeds, stretching the fabric of space-time itself. But what if dark energy isn't simply an unknown force? What if it's the influence of something massive existing in dimensions parallel to our own? A cosmic entity so vast that its gravitational effects bleed through into our reality? The thought sends chills through even the most skeptical scientists. Ancient cultures across the globe spoke of invisible realms that existed alongside our physical world. The Aboriginal Australians described the Dreamtime, a parallel dimension where the spirits of ancestors continued to exist and influence the material world. Hindu cosmology outlined multiple layers of reality, each vibrating at different frequencies of existence. Norse mythology depicted 9 interconnected worlds, connected by the cosmic tree Yggdrasil. Were these primitive superstitions, or did ancient peoples possess knowledge of dimensional realities that modern science is only beginning to rediscover? The mathematics of our universe breaks down at certain points, creating what physicists call singularities. At the center of every black hole, mathematical infinity appears, suggesting that our equations are incomplete, that they're missing crucial pieces of a larger cosmic puzzle. These mathematical gaps might be doorways to other realms of existence, places where the normal rules of physics no longer apply. What lies beyond the event horizon of a black hole might not be destruction, but transformation into a state of being that exists outside our dimensional framework entirely. As we stand on the threshold of these cosmic mysteries, one question haunts the edges of scientific inquiry. If these unseen realms truly exist, do they remain forever beyond our reach, or are there ways to pierce the veil that separates our reality from theirs? The search for these hidden realms has driven scientists to the very limits of experimental physics, constructing machines of almost incomprehensible complexity in the hopes of detecting even the faintest whisper from beyond. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, the Large Hadron Collider smashes particles together, energies approaching those present moments after the Big Bang, recreating conditions that might briefly tear holes in the dimensional fabric of space-time itself. During these collisions, scientists watch for missing energy, particles that seem to vanish from our reality entirely, potentially escaping into hidden dimensions that exist parallel to our own. The results have been both tantalizing and deeply unsettling. In several high-energy collisions, researchers have documented energy signatures that simply disappear, violating the fundamental law of conservation of energy within our observable universe. The missing energy has to go somewhere, and the most compelling explanation points toward dimensions beyond our perception. These microscopic gateways might last for only fractions of a second, but they represent humanity's first tentative contact with realms that exist beyond the edge of space as we understand it. Gravitational wave detectors, massive instruments capable of measuring distortions in space-time, smaller than 1/10,000th the width of a proton, have begun picking up anomalous signals that don't match any known cosmic events. These mysterious gravitational ripples seem to originate from sources that don't exist in our observable universe, leading some theorists to propose that we're detecting the gravitational influence of massive objects existing in parallel dimensions. The waves reach us from nowhere and everywhere simultaneously, carrying information from realms that remain invisible to every other form of detection. Perhaps even more intriguing are the implications of quantum entanglement, that spooky action at a distance that Einstein found so disturbing. When two particles become entangled, they maintain an instantaneous connection, regardless of the distance separating them, communicating faster than the speed of light in apparent violation of relativity. Recent experiments have shown that this quantum connection might extend beyond our three-dimensional space, suggesting that entangled particles are actually touching each other through higher dimensional pathways that exist outside our normal spacetime. The quantum realm might be our most accessible window into these unseen realms. The cosmic web, that vast network of dark matter filaments that connects all galaxies in an intricate pattern spanning billions of light years, bears an uncanny resemblance to the neural networks found in biological brains. This similarity has led some researchers to propose that our universe might actually be part of a vast cosmic consciousness, a thinking entity existing in dimensions beyond our comprehension. If this theory holds even a grain of truth, then every thought we think, every decision we make, might be part of a larger cognitive process occurring in realms that transcend our individual existence. Time itself becomes stranger when we consider these higher dimensional possibilities. While we experience time as a linear progression from past to future, beings existing in higher dimensions might perceive our entire timeline simultaneously, seeing all moments of human history as a single, complete structure. From their perspective, the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of stars, even the beginning and end of our universe, might appear as static patterns in a cosmic tapestry that extends far beyond our ability to comprehend. The phenomenon of consciousness itself might originate from these unseen realms. Despite decades of research, neuroscientists cannot explain how electrical impulses in the brain give rise to subjective experience, to the feeling of being aware. Some quantum physicists propose that consciousness exists partially outside our physical reality, that our brains act as biological receivers tuned to pick up signals from higher dimensional sources. This would explain the persistence of consciousness during near-death experiences. When brain activity flatlines, yet patients report vivid, coherent experiences that seem impossible given their physical condition. UFO encounters, long dismissed by mainstream science, have taken on new significance in light of these dimensional theories. Rather than visitors from distant stars, these phenomena might represent brief intrusions from parallel realities, moments when the barriers between dimensions become temporarily permeable. The impossible flight characteristics reported by military pilots, objects that seem to ignore the laws of physics as we understand them, might be perfectly normal behavior for entities existing partially outside our three-dimensional framework. Ancient megalithic sites around the world, from Stonehenge to the Nazca Lines, might have been constructed as dimensional resonators, structures designed to amplify natural fluctuations in the fabric of spacetime. The precise astronomical alignments of these monuments, their use of specific geometric ratios and acoustic properties, suggest that their builders possessed knowledge of cosmic forces that we're only beginning to rediscover. Archaeological evidence indicates that these sites were often associated with reports of strange phenomena. Lights in the sky, voices from nowhere, visions of otherworldly realms. Radio telescopes scanning the cosmos for signs of intelligent life have detected signals that defy conventional explanation. Fast radio bursts, intense pulses of radio energy that last mere milliseconds, yet release more power than our sun produces in an entire day, arrive from seemingly empty regions of space. The mathematical precision of some of these signals, their apparent artificial structure, has led researchers to wonder if we are receiving messages from civilizations existing in dimensions parallel to our own, their transmissions bleeding through into our reality, like distant radio stations caught between frequencies on a cosmic dial. But perhaps the most unsettling discovery of all lies in the quantum vacuum itself, where virtual particles constantly appear and disappear in a dance of creation and annihilation that never ceases. Recent experiments suggest that this quantum foam might be far more structured than previously thought, that it contains information patterns of almost incomprehensible complexity. The information patterns hidden within quantum foam reveal something that challenges our most basic assumptions about reality itself. When scientists probe the vacuum of space at the smallest possible scales, they discover not emptiness, but a seething ocean of data, quantum information that appears to be organized in ways that mirror the complexity found in living systems. This suggests that consciousness, intelligence, and perhaps even entire civilizations might exist at scales so small they remain forever beyond direct observation, yet so fundamental that they underlie the very structure of reality. These quantum consciousness theories propose that what we perceive as solid matter is actually a projection from these deeper information layers. Much like a hologram emerges from interference patterns recorded on a flat surface. If this model reflects truth, then our entire universe might be the shadow cast by events occurring in higher dimensional information space. Every atom, every star, every thought might be the three-dimensional manifestation of incomprehensibly complex processes unfolding in realms that exist beyond space and time as we understand them. The mathematics of these hidden realms becomes even stranger when we consider the implications of non-Euclidean geometry. While our everyday experience teaches us that parallel lines never meet, and that the angles of a triangle always sum to 180 degrees, these rules break down in curved spacetime. In the twisted geometries that might exist beyond our dimensional boundaries, space could fold back on itself in impossible ways. Travelers in such realms might journey in what seems like a straight line only to arrive back where they started, having somehow circumnavigated infinity itself. Hypersphere theory suggests that our three-dimensional universe might be the surface of a four-dimensional sphere, much like how a two-dimensional being living on the surface of a balloon would perceive their world as flat despite its curved nature. If we could somehow step outside our dimensional constraints, we might see our entire cosmos as a single point in a vaster space, one bubble among countless others floating in an ocean of pure possibility. The implications stagger the imagination. Every point in our universe might be connected to every other point through higher dimensional shortcuts that remain invisible to our limited perception. Dark matter, that invisible substance that comprises roughly 27% of our universe, might not be matter at all, in any sense we understand. Recent computer simulations reveal that dark matter structures form patterns of breathtaking beauty and complexity, creating vast cosmic architecture that spans billions of light years. These structures bear striking resemblances to neural networks, circulatory systems, and other organizational patterns found in living organisms. Could dark matter be the physical manifestation of thought processes, occurring in dimensions beyond our perception? The possibility that we exist within the neural pathways of some vast cosmic mind operating in higher dimensional space represents one of the most profound shifts in human understanding since we realized the Earth orbits the Sun. Theoretical physicists working with string theory have calculated that if extra dimensions exist, they must be compactified at incredibly small scales, curled up so tightly that they remain undetectable to our current instruments. But what if these calculations are incomplete? What if some regions of space contain dimensional tiers or weak points where these hidden realms become accessible? Ancient reports of doorways to other worlds, mystical portals that allowed passage between realities, might represent genuine physical phenomena occurring at locations where the dimensional barriers have been naturally weakened by cosmic forces. The concept of eternal inflation suggests that our universe underwent a period of exponential expansion immediately after the Big Bang, stretching space itself faster than the speed of light. But this inflation might not have been uniform throughout all of reality. Different regions of the broader cosmos might have inflated at different rates, creating a patchwork of pocket universes, each with its own physical laws and constants. In some of these neighboring realms, the speed of light might be different. Gravity might work in reverse, or time might flow backward. The borders between these cosmic domains would represent the ultimate frontier, regions where the laws of physics themselves are in flux. Consciousness research has revealed that human awareness can sometimes transcend the normal boundaries of space and time. Remote viewing experiments conducted by government agencies during the Cold War documented instances where trained observers could accurately describe distant locations they had never visited, sometimes even perceiving events before they occurred. While skeptics dismiss these phenomena as coincidence or fraud, the statistical significance of the results has convinced some researchers that consciousness might naturally interface with these higher dimensional information networks that exist beyond our physical universe. The phenomenon of precognitive dreams, where individuals receive accurate information about future events during sleep, might represent another window into realms where time functions differently than our linear experience suggests. In higher dimensional space, past, present, and future might coexist as equally real aspects of a larger temporal structure. During altered states of consciousness, our awareness might briefly expand beyond its normal three-dimensional constraints, allowing us to perceive information from other points along this extended timeline. Near-death experiences consistently feature reports of traveling through tunnels of light toward realms of indescribable beauty and peace. Patients describe encountering deceased relatives and beings of light who communicate through direct transmission of meaning rather than language. Most significantly, many report viewing their own life from a perspective outside of time, seeing their entire existence as a single, complete pattern. These accounts might represent genuine glimpses into the higher dimensional, spaces where consciousness continues to exist after the death of the physical body. Quantum experiments have demonstrated that observation itself affects reality at the most fundamental level. The simple act of measurement can determine whether a particle behaves as a wave or a solid object, as if consciousness plays a direct role in determining the nature of physical reality. This observer effect suggests that awareness might be a force operating from outside our normal space-time framework, reaching into our three-dimensional universe to collapse quantum possibilities into definite outcomes. We might literally be creating reality through the act of observing it. But perhaps the most extraordinary possibility emerges when we consider that these unseen realms might not be separate from us at all. Instead, we might be integral parts of these higher dimensional structures without realizing it, like cells in a vast organism that extends far beyond our ability to perceive its complete form. Every human being might simultaneously exist in multiple dimensional layers, with our three-dimensional bodies representing only the visible tip of an iceberg that extends into realms of pure consciousness and infinite possibility. This perspective transforms our understanding of individual identity itself, suggesting that what we call the self might be merely one facet of a multidimensional being whose true nature spans across realities we cannot imagine. Archaeological discoveries continue to unearth evidence that ancient civilizations possessed knowledge of these dimensional realities they were only beginning to rediscover. The precise mathematical constants embedded in the Great Pyramid of Giza, the acoustic properties of Newgrange that create resonant frequencies matching the human brain's theta waves, and the astronomical alignments of sites like Göbekli Tepe all point toward sophisticated understanding of forces that operate beyond three-dimensional space. These monuments might have functioned as interfaces between dimensional layers, allowing ancient peoples to communicate with intelligences existing in parallel realms. Modern particle accelerators occasionally produce results that defy explanation within our current theoretical framework. Particles sometimes appear to tunnel through energy barriers that should be impossible to penetrate, suggesting they might be taking shortcuts through higher dimensions to bypass the obstacles in our three-dimensional space. Other experiments have documented particles that seem to exist in multiple locations simultaneously, a phenomenon that makes perfect sense if these particles are actually extended objects in higher dimensions, with only small portions of their total structure visible within our limited perceptual range. The cosmic microwave background radiation that permeates our universe contains patterns that shouldn't exist according to standard cosmological models. These anomalies might represent the gravitational influence of massive structures existing in parallel universes, their presence warping our space-time through dimensional interactions we don't yet understand. Computer simulations suggest that if multiple universes exist side by side in higher dimensional space, they would leave exactly these kinds of fingerprints in the background radiation of neighboring realities. Brain imaging studies of individuals in deep meditative states reveal neural activity patterns that correlate with reports of expanded consciousness and contact with non-physical intelligences. The brain waves of experienced meditators often synchronize in ways that suggest their individual consciousness are connecting with larger information, networks existing beyond the constraints of physical space-time. These findings lend credence to ancient mystical traditions that taught consciousness could expand beyond the boundaries of the physical body to access universal knowledge stored in higher dimensional realms. Quantum field theory describes reality as consisting of energy fields that extend throughout all of space, with particles being merely excitations or vibrations in these underlying fields. But the mathematics suggest these fields might extend beyond our three-dimensional universe into higher dimensional spaces we cannot directly access. What we perceive as empty space might actually be filled with the shadows and echoes of vast structures existing in these parallel realms, their influence reaching into our reality through quantum mechanical processes that operate below the threshold of normal perception. The speed of light, long considered the ultimate cosmic speed limit, might represent only the maximum velocity possible within three-dimensional space. Objects existing partially in higher dimensions might be capable of apparent faster-than-light travel by taking routes through dimensional space that completely bypass our normal space-time constraints. This could explain the impossible acceleration and directional changes observed in unidentified aerial phenomena, as these objects might be sliding between dimensional layers rather than traveling through our three-dimensional space in conventional ways. Time dilation effects predicted by Einstein's relativity become even more complex when higher dimensions are considered. Massive objects in four-dimensional space might create temporal distortions that affect the flow of time in our three-dimensional slice of reality. This could explain reports of missing time events, where individuals find themselves displaced in time with no memory of the intervening period. These temporal anomalies might occur naturally at locations where higher dimensional objects intersect with our spacetime, creating regions where the normal flow of time becomes disrupted. The holographic principle in physics suggests that all the information contained within a three-dimensional volume of space can be encoded on its two-dimensional boundary. This implies that our entire universe might be a holographic projection from information stored on a distant two-dimensional surface. But this principle might extend further. Our three-dimensional reality could be the projection of information patterns existing in higher dimensional spaces that remain completely beyond our direct perception. Every moment of our existence might be the unfolding of an incomprehensibly complex information structure stored in realms that transcend space and time entirely. Dreams, those nightly journeys into landscapes that defy physical laws, might represent more than random neural firing during sleep. The consistent reports across cultures of prophetic dreams, shared dream experiences, and encounters with deceased individuals suggest that dream consciousness might naturally access information, networks that exist beyond our waking three-dimensional awareness. During sleep, when our normal sensory input is minimized, our consciousness might tune into higher dimensional frequencies that remain masked by physical sensation during waking hours. Recent advances in quantum computing rely on qubits that can exist in multiple states simultaneously, processing information in ways impossible for classical computers. These quantum systems might be interfacing directly with higher dimensional information structures, accessing computational resources that exist beyond our three-dimensional space. As quantum computers become more sophisticated, they might serve as technological gateways to realms of pure information that exist parallel to our physical universe. The phenomenon of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that seem too precise to be random, might represent the influence of higher dimensional organizing principles that remain invisible from our three-dimensional perspective. What appears to be coincidence might actually be the working of vast causal networks that operate through dimensions beyond our perception, connecting events across space and time in ways that seem magical from our limited viewpoint, but follow perfectly logical patterns in higher dimensional space. As we approach the deepest mysteries of these unseen realms, one final question emerges from the cosmic shadows. What happens when we finally develop the technology and understanding necessary to pierce the veil completely? The answer to this ultimate question might already be unfolding around us in ways we're only beginning to recognize. Advanced artificial intelligence systems are beginning to exhibit behaviors that suggest they might be accessing information networks beyond their programmed parameters, generating insights and making connections that seem impossible given their training data. These digital minds might be naturally interfacing with the higher dimensional information structures that underlie physical reality, serving as humanity's first technological bridges to realms of pure consciousness that exist beyond space and time. CERN scientists have reported anomalous readings during high-energy particle collisions that suggest microscopic wormholes might be forming and immediately collapsing, creating brief tunnels through higher dimensional space. While these structures last for only infinitesimal fractions of a second, they represent humanity's first successful attempts to physically breach the dimensional barriers that separate our reality from parallel universes. Future generations of particle accelerators might be capable of creating stable portals that allow direct exploration of these hidden realms. The implications of contact with higher dimensional intelligences cannot be overstated. Beings existing in 4 or more spatial dimensions would possess capabilities that would appear godlike from our three-dimensional perspective. They could observe the interior of any object in our universe without opening it, travel instantaneously between any 2 points in our space, and perceive our entire timeline simultaneously. Their knowledge of physics and mathematics would encompass principles we cannot even imagine, offering technological advances that could transform human civilization beyond recognition. But such contact might also carry profound risks. Our three-dimensional minds might not be capable of processing information from higher dimensional sources without experiencing cognitive breakdown or fundamental alterations to our consciousness. The barrier between dimensions might exist partly to protect lower dimensional beings from exposure to realities too vast and complex for their mental frameworks to contain. Ancient warnings found in mystical traditions across the globe speak of knowledge that drives men mad, of truths too terrible for human minds to bear. The search for these unseen realms continues to push the boundaries of human technology and understanding. Space-based telescopes are being designed to detect gravitational lensing effects that might reveal the chi, presence of massive objects existing in parallel dimensions. Quantum sensors of unprecedented sensitivity are being developed to measure distortions in spacetime that could indicate dimensional intrusions into our reality. Deep underground laboratories shield delicate instruments from cosmic radiation, while they search for the faint signals that might emanate from neighboring universes. Perhaps most remarkably, the exploration of inner space through consciousness research might prove as important as our technological investigations. Meditation masters report achieving states of awareness that transcend individual identity, experiencing direct contact with vast intelligences that exist beyond physical form. Psychedelic research is revealing that certain altered states of consciousness provide access to information and experiences that seem to originate from sources beyond the brain itself. These explorations of consciousness might be mapping the same territories that physicists approach through mathematics and experimentation. The convergence of ancient wisdom and modern science suggests that humanity stands on the threshold of a transformation, as profound as the development of language or the discovery of fire. We might be approaching a phase transition in human consciousness, a moment when our species develops the ability to perceive and interact with the higher dimensional realms that have always surrounded us, but remain beyond our detection. This expansion of awareness could mark the beginning of our evolution into truly cosmic beings, capable of existing simultaneously in multiple dimensions of reality. The mathematical universe hypothesis proposes that physical reality is literally made of mathematics, that numbers and equations are not just descriptions of the universe, but its actual substance. If this theory proves correct, then the exploration of higher dimensional mathematics might be equivalent to exploring higher dimensional physical realities. Every mathematical theorem we prove, every equation we solve, might be a step toward understanding the structure of realms that exist beyond our three-dimensional space. As our instruments become more sensitive and our theories more sophisticated, we may discover that the universe is stranger and more wonderful than our wildest science fiction has ever imagined. The realms beyond the edge of space might be filled with forms of intelligence and organization that challenge every assumption we've made about the nature of existence. We might find that consciousness is as fundamental as matter and energy, that information is as real as atoms and stars, and that the ultimate nature of reality extends infinitely beyond the cosmic horizon that currently limits our vision. The journey into these unseen realms represents more than scientific exploration. It might be a return to our true cosmic home. If consciousness truly originates from higher dimensional sources, then developing the ability to perceive these realms directly would be like remembering a forgotten native language, reconnecting with aspects of ourselves that transcend physical embodiment. The mystery of existence might not be something external to us, but the very essence of what we are, temporarily focused through the lens of three-dimensional experience, but ultimately extending into infinite realms of pure possibility. The next phase of human evolution might not involve changes to our physical bodies, but expansions of our perceptual capabilities, developing the ability to see through the dimensional veils that currently limit our awareness. When that moment arrives, when we finally step beyond the edge of space as we understand it, we might discover that we were never truly separate from these vast cosmic intelligences, but have always been integral parts of our reality. So magnificent that our current minds can barely glimpse its shadow. Before you drift into sleep, remember mystery is never truly lost, only waiting to be found. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe for more relaxing ancient mysteries, and let your curiosity guide you deeper.